Now there's a sea of hands. Mr. President, may I take a couple? Because otherwise...
Sure.
So let me take the gentleman in the front row here, and then I'm going to go to the back.
Mr. President,
Could you kindly identify yourself?
I'm Jamil Gürsel, member of Chatham House. The question I have for you is this. What is the difference between your government now and the previous government, and what you're going to do, something the previous government didn't do? And most importantly, the opium, the heroin, obviously, as you know, the raw materials for it, how are you going to control it, as you are the biggest supplier to the world?
Sure. Can I take a question at the back? There's a lady standing at the back with a yellow...
She's a journalist.
Yes, she's Emma Graham Harrison. I just recognized her, yes, yes.
How can you give journalists the floor? Only you can.
I'll happily cede to someone else.
No, please do. Please do. By all means, I was just teasing him.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and
Of
thank
course.
you, Mr. Keating. I just wanted to ask, I've just been at the conference where David Cameron, John Kerry were praising the steps you've taken to tackle corruption, particularly the reopening of the prosecution of Kabul Bank. When are we going to see the government holding a senior minister or official to account as the next step in ending the culture of impunity? Because over the last 13 years, there's not been a single senior member of the government prosecuted or otherwise punished for corruption.
Okay, one more question from the back, please. There's a gentleman there with his the glasses, yeah. Could you identify yourself? You're leaving at 1925. I've been...
Okay, all right, good, so thank you.
Lewis MacLeod, BBC Monitoring.
Oh my goodness.
I'd like to ask you...
See? I knew they were colluding with you.
I'd like to welcome you, first of all,
Thank you.
Dr. Ghani, to London and for coming to talk to members of Chatham House. I'd like to ask you a question about the geostrategic position of Afghanistan. And to what extent do you think that the traditional policy of neutrality of Afghanistan has been compromised by signing a bilateral security agreement with NATO and another agreement with the USA, and that this might indeed reduce the voice of Afghanistan in the world,
Okay.
but neutrality being a principled and strong position, and you're exchanging it for a weak one.
Okay, so 3 questions there: narcotics, corruption, and senior official. And I thought that was 2 questions coming.
There's 2 questions here, yes.
So in fact, you've got 4.
Sure. Let me begin in reverse order. So, Afghanistan is going to provide a platform for cooperation. Neutrality is a term from 1950s. Does it still really have application to 2014? So I think you should take the question back in terms of deliberation, because it's a different word. We're in an intersecting point. We want to make sure we're not a battlefield and we are not indifferent. We're dying on a daily basis. You think that is from neutrality? We need to make sure that the world becomes whole. Our interconnected world is not into spheres of neutral or left or right, or red or green. It is an integrated approach that is required to our interconnected world. We are very strong advocates of a regional compact on peace, on stability and prosperity. And our position as the intersection point of Asia forces us to think through. And the intersection of the negative side, the soft belly of globalization, again forces us to have alliances in these, or to protect our people and to protect your people and the world. So it's a new context, and in this context, we want to make sure, one, that our territory is not used against any of our neighbors, and I can assure you that it would not. But second, we're not going to permit anybody to use our territories as a ground for proxy battles. We are not the playing field of anyone. We've earned the right to peace, and we are going to ensure that no one looks at us as a playing field for any of their ideas and negative ideas. Positively, we are ground for cooperation, and that I think we will ensure. Secondly, prosecution of high-ranking officials. It depends on people bringing. We've just passed the law on public information. Citizens' movements have the right to take people to court. But let's understand the critical issue. The critical issue is carving a future with accountability, not going to the 35 years of the past. Reformists who have gotten the balance wrong between transformation and continuity have brought the whole house down. I do not want to engage in the Lenin tango, 1 step forward, 3 steps backward. We are going to be determined, every member of the new government from day one are going to disclose our assets, be accountable, update them, and make sure. The process of reckoning with the past is part of building the rule of law, and that's what we are steadily focusing. But don't ask me to deliver miracles on a single day. We need to maintain our focus and ensure that we move forward. Narcotics. Narcotics has 3 components: consumers, transitors, and producers and processors. Yes, we acknowledge we are the largest producer and processor. Who in the room will raise their hands as to where are the largest consumers? The price of an ounce is $1.10. In Afghanistan, $1.15. In Iran, $42 in London. 46 around that in Amsterdam. These are global chains. Let us deal with the issue together. We need an alliance without blame games. If there is a will in the consumer countries to legalize drug, we have no comparative advantage. Any hothouse will grow it. If there is not that political will, then let us come to solve the problems together. Where is the solution? The key to the solution is transformation of Afghanistan's agriculture. Drug dealers pay $17 a day for labor, unskilled labor. The largest public program pays $2 a day. Where do you think unemployed people make the choice? We need, in theory, we have access to the markets of advanced industrial countries. In practice, we don't, because we don't have the knowledge, the value chain. Who can help us most? Tesco, Walmart, the consortium of supermarket chains that know how to organize supply and demand. The other is we are looking very much forward to persuading Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and others to link their food security with investment, long-term investment in our agriculture, because that transformation is fundamental. Without this, in the history of drug eradication in Thailand and others, should be an example. Where do we differ? One area where we differ fundamentally is in the focus on the economy. Because on regional economic integration, and that our worthy President Karzai, whom I still call my president, took responsibility under a very, very difficult set of circumstances. There was no paradigm for him or for the world after the tragedy of 9/11. He did what he could. It's a difficult balancing act. The judgment needs to be made by history. But he is going to earn a place in history by being the first person in our 5,000 years of recorded craftsmanship to have transferred authority according to the rule of law to his elected successor. For that, he deserves praise and appreciation, and we want to make sure that that space is created. Our programs contrast, and I will be taking a direct managerial role in economic issue, in issues of regional integration, for which I've spent a lifetime preparing, and I hope the results will speak for a people.
Thank you. Right, let's take a few more. The gentleman with the white shirt, the lady beside him, and then I'll come over here. Please, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, President Ghani. I'm Fazan Arshad. I'm a medical student at Imperial College. I wanted to ask, how great of a barrier or facilitator do you see Pakistan as in the future political and economic development of Afghanistan?
Thank you. That was a very succinct question. I'd be grateful if others could be equally succinct.
Good evening. Heather Barr from Human Rights Watch. We haven't talked about human rights this evening, so I have two very quick questions.
Sure.
One is I'm wondering when we can look forward to seeing the release of the Human Rights Commission's mapping report. And the second question is I'm wondering if you'll order prosecutions of government officials who've engaged in the systematic and widespread torture that the United Nations has documented.
Thank you. Gentleman, there was a gentleman here with a yellow tie in the middle.
John Wilson, a member of Chatham House. Mr. President, can you tell us your plans for the future emancipation of women in Afghanistan?
Okay, and one more. Unfortunately, we've just heard word that the Secretary of State, you have to leave in 5 minutes. So one more, and then, yeah.
In 5 minutes, I have to be there.
7:28, I've been given the message. Okay, well, why don't you, Mr. President, why don't you just deal with those one then?
Yeah.
Those three questions. It's Pakistan, human rights, and
Sure.
the last one.
Pakistan and Afghanistan are facing an historical choice together. Do we become the cul-de-sac that stops Asia's economic integration, or do we become the linchpin of this economic integration? We are vital to each other. The dialogue we've started is promising. We're cautiously optimistic. And it is essential both to our mutual security, to Asia's future, and to global security that we share a common understanding of the problem and reach common solutions. The Human Rights Commission can release its report. It does not depend on me. They are an independent commission. And I've said that I've had a commitment during the campaign, which will honor, that we would like our human rights record every year to be evaluated by the Human Rights Commission. We will take their findings very seriously and act on them. Prosecution is up to the court system, not up to the government. Current law is clear. The law that Parliament had passed, Parliament would have to change the law for that. But individuals, as individuals, are free to bring cases. Muslim law makes a very clear distinction between the right of God and the right of man. The right of God can be forgiven by the state. The right of man can never be, or right of person, because Islam is not sexist, actually. It's a human being, which translates literally man or woman. And that is always a retained right that no one can take away. And the Constitution guarantees that. Women, absolutely central. Thank you for that question. In terms of legal issues, because I need to leave, otherwise I'd love to take 10 minutes to describe that. A number of documents are critical to establishing the legal personality of the woman. Birth record, marriage record, divorce, when they are divorced, because now there are frequency, and inheritance. We want to make sure legal personality established, because this is the base of the legal rights. Second, of course, is that the court system, and I'm honored here that our acting Chief Justice is with us, Mr. Rashid, a man known for his integrity in judgment, and it was, again, one of my first acts. It's going to fall to me to appoint 2 judges of the Supreme Court this year and 3 next year. That is a phenomenal responsibility. We are going to interview, personally I'm going to interview dozens of judges to arrive at this, and reform of the Supreme Court and the court system, the prosecutors, the Attorney General's office is critical. Rule of law is the fundamental part of empowerment of the women. So the rights that they have, both under Sharia and under civil law or in criminal law, or accorded to them. But what is really fundamental is economic empowerment of the woman. In here, my request to all the international community, please stop 2-day training courses. Let us, what I asked the French foreign minister yesterday, I'm extending to all of you. If you really want to help our women get the designers in London, Frankfurt, Paris, New York, and Tokyo together to design a Made by Afghan Women label, open up your department stores to our women's products. And give us real credit, not microcredit, for women's entrepreneurship. Let's think grand scale. The West loves to talk about the rights of women. Could you match it, please, with some practice with us? We are willing. Would you partner so that we get real empowerment of the women?